Welcome to a session that's less of a gentle chat and more of a spiritual chest bump. Today we're cutting through the noise, the static, the endless hum of societal delusion with a guest who's not here to sugarcoat anything. Theodore, it's great to have you.
Noah, thanks for having me. I'm here to lay down some truth, like a forensic map of our collective dysfunction. The kind of map that says, you are here, and you are also part of the problem.
That's exactly what I signed up for. And you're starting with a big swing, pulling from Romans 3:23, which you call the uncompromising baseline for every human on the planet. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. No exceptions, you say. No race card, tax bracket exemption, or my culture is different loophole.
Precisely. Galatians 3:28 echoes it. The ground is level at the foot of the cross. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, rich, poor, city, country, suburban, hood. Every last one of us is born with the exact same disease, an ego that simply refuses to surrender. It's the ultimate equalizer.
An ego that refuses to surrender. That's a mic drop. But you say society is paralyzed because we've built these customized fortresses around our dysfunction and we call them home. We defend generational curses like they're family heirlooms. And that static, that loud, relentless noise in our heads keeps getting louder because we keep feeding it.
We absolutely do. Today, we're laying out the forensic map. We're going to walk through the exact environments that physically rewire our brains, how culture creates specific spiritual sicknesses, the neurobiology of trauma and pride, the parables Jesus used to expose it, and the only way out, absolute death of the ego, surrender to Jesus Christ.
So it's not a feel-good message then? More of a sledgehammer to the chest scenario?
That's the one. If you're one of the 10% actually searching, this broadcast is for you. The other 90% will either get mad or keep scrolling. That's just how it goes.
Ouch, but fair. Let's dive into Act 1, the blueprint of the environments and the orphan spirit. You argue that when we refuse to surrender to God, our environment becomes our God, and our ego becomes our armor.
Exactly. The place you grow up doesn't just shape your habits, it physically rewires your brain and plants these generational sicknesses that feel completely normal. Different cultures, different zip codes, all creating unique expressions of that same core disease.
So tell us about Zone 1, the survival trap, or as you call it, the trenches.
This is the crucible. Deep urban poverty, absent fathers, mothers locked up or strung out, violence in the house, the jail system cycling through the family tree. This is the birthplace of the orphan spirit. In inner-city Black and Hispanic communities, it's hyper-masculine armor, street wisdom that says you must control everything or you'll get eaten. In poor white rural areas or trailer park culture, it turns into isolation, meth, and a defiant nobody tells me what to do pride. Immigrant families in the trenches, generational silence, workaholism to outrun the shame of poverty. And for Native American communities on reservations, it's deep, systemic hopelessness, substance cycles passed down. The curse here is the overt controller. Trauma becomes loud, aggressive armor. Surrender? That feels like weakness, like getting killed.
So Jesus painted this exact man in the parable of the prodigal son, the younger brother.
He did. The younger brother, covered in mud, eating slop, still trying to survive on the world scraps because he forgot the authority of his father's house. He's the ultimate overt controller, just on his last legs.
Wow. Flipping the script, we go to Zone 2, the safety trap. This sounds like my neighborhood.
The affluent bubbles, suburbs, gated communities, or strict religious homes where appearance is everything. The neglect here isn't physical, it is emotional. Dad is chasing the next dollar, mom is consumed with status. White suburban America, polished perfectionism masking hidden prescription pill addictions. Wealthy Asian American or Indian immigrant families, intense academic pressure, conditional love, paralyzing shame around failure. Affluent Black or Hispanic families who made it, status anxiety and terrifying fear of sliding back into the trenches. And then the strict religious subcultures across any race, Southern Baptist, Catholic, Pentecostal, it becomes the Pharisee Spirit, fake morality used as a weapon of control. The generational curse here is the covert controller, polite on the outside, rotting inside. They use fake morality, wealth, and church attendance as a shield. They don't think they need saving because the lawn is mowed and the Bible's on the coffee table.
So the older brother in the prodigal son story.
Exactly. He never left home, followed every rule, but his heart was cold, judgmental, and completely separated from the Father's grace. just as lost as the Pigpen brother, but lost in his own front yard.
That hits. And finally, zone 3, the machine grind, the hamster wheel.
Living paycheck to paycheck, surviving the system, but never actually living. Factory workers, truck drivers, retail managers, small business owners barely keeping the lights on. This creates apathy mixed with quiet resentment. In rural white communities, a 12-pack after work and a sigh of, this is just life. In urban working-class Black and Hispanic families, escapism through sports, entertainment, or endless digital scrolling. Immigrant working families show stoic, silent exhaustion, refusing to admit weakness. The curse here is numbness. They medicate with digital distraction and resentment.
Every zone, different flavor, same disease. An ego that refuses to bow. Okay, so we've mapped the dysfunction. Now let's talk science. You say science meets scripture in Act 2, specifically with neuroplasticity.
Science is finally catching up to what the Bible has said for thousands of years. Neuroplasticity is real. The brain physically rewires itself based on repeated thoughts, environments, and addictions. Live in generational trauma or generational pride long enough, and those neural pathways become superhighways.
So our environment doesn't just influence us, it literally changes our brain.
Absolutely. When a child grows up in the crucible of trauma, the brain physically changes. The amygdala, the fear center, stays permanently enlarged, and the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center, shrinks. The brain is locked in permanent fight or flight. Natural dopamine, the chemical God designed for joy and peace, is depleted because the baseline is terror.
And the data backs this up. The CDC's Adverse Childhood Experiences Study shows some stark numbers.
Undeniable data. Individuals across all demographics who experience high levels of childhood trauma are 7 times more likely to become alcoholics, 10 times more likely to inject street drugs, and 12 times more likely to attempt suicide. So what does the orphan do? He self-medicates, street drugs, alcohol, pills, or the dopamine hit of public validation. Not because he is simply bad, but because the nervous system is literally on fire and he is desperately trying to survive.
It sounds like a tragic attempt at self-preservation. But you say God engineered the brain, and Romans 12:2 is the ultimate prescription.
Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He is telling us that the trauma, the drugs, the pride, the poverty, and the wealth, all of it programmed us to the pattern of the world. Only Jesus can physically, spiritually, and neurologically rewire it. You cannot out-medicate a spiritual sickness. You cannot out-therapy a demon of pride. You cannot out-earn a generational curse. The cycle just gets darker until the root is pulled up.
That's a pretty definitive statement. Let's break down society with your 30-30-30-10 divide. How does this math explain why we're all so stuck?
It's simple. 30% are the anchors. They violently defend their environment, their past, their culture, whether from the hood or the gated suburbs, as a shield, so they never have to change. 30% are the pretenders. They act like they have it all together. Fake politeness, fake wisdom, fake morality, anything to avoid dealing with the rot in their own roots.
I know those people. I might be some of those people sometimes.
Then you've met the other 30%, the apathetic. Numb, exhausted, and distracted by the static of the world. They just accept the curse as normal life. That leaves 10%, the seekers, the remnant.
The seekers, the remnant.
Yes, these are the ones who are lost, but they want help. The drugs didn't work, the money didn't work, the fake church didn't work. They are standing in the wreckage of their own ego, exhausted by the pride and crying out for truth. This 10% is the target. This is how we find God. When we realize we have absolutely nothing left to defend, the soil is finally ready for the seed.
That's a powerful image. So, Act 4, the sledgehammer of surrender. What does this look like in practice for our overt controllers, covert controllers, and the apathetic?
The overt controller from the trenches, they have to drop the street wisdom and admit he's broken. The covert controller from the suburbs, drop the polite performance and admit his righteousness is filthy rags. The apathetic and the grind, wake up from the digital coma. The only way out is the death of the ego.
The death of the ego. That sounds dramatic.
It's not giving up, Noah. It is stepping into life. When you finally lay it down and say, I am a sinner, my culture is flawed, my coping mechanisms are destroying me,
That's when Jesus steps in. He replaces the synthetic, toxic dopamine of the world with the real thing, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22-23.
So the message is, drop the pride, the jargon, the excuses. Join the 10% who are actually searching.
Let Jesus break the curse, rewire your mind, and give God the glory. Step into the garden. The real work begins here.
Theodore, thank you for this incredibly insightful and, yes, sledgehammer to the chest look at the geography of the ego and the pathology of pride. This was truly eye-opening.
My pleasure, Noah.
If this conversation resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear these truths.